Chosen ones, heaven declares your next chapter. It's happening, listen. That stirring in your chest, that quiet whisper that's been tugging at your soul, it's not your imagination. It's heaven's voice declaring that your next chapter is unfolding right now. This isn't just another moment. This is the moment. The one you've been crying out for in the dark. The one you've been waiting for through seasons of silence. The one that carries your name in golden letters across the skies of eternity. You didn't stumble upon this message by chance. No, chosen one, this message found you. It hunted you down through the noise of a distracted world to deliver a divine announcement. Your story is shifting, your season is changing, and your breakthrough is no longer a promise. It's happening. Picture a radiant scroll unfurling in the throne room of heaven, its edges glowing with celestial light. Your name is written there, not in ink that fades, but in the eternal fire of God's purpose. This scroll isn't a suggestion, it's a decree. It declares that every tear you've shed, every door that slammed shut, every dream that seemed to wither wasn't a denial, but a divine setup. You weren't being punished, you were being prepared. The struggles that weighed you down weren't meant to break you. They were forging you into the unbreakable vessel God needs for this next chapter. Jeremiah 29:11 echoes through the ages. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. That hope is alive now, that future is knocking at your door. Why does your heart race as these words sink in? Why do your hands tremble as you hold this device? Because your spirit recognizes truth your mind is still catching up to. You've felt different your whole life, haven't you? Like you were born for something bigger, something beyond the ordinary paths others seem content to walk. That feeling wasn't a fantasy, it was a prophecy. You are a chosen one, handpicked by the Creator before the stars were hung in the sky. But being chosen doesn't mean an easy road. It means a road that matters. It means a purpose so significant that hell itself has trembled at the thought of you stepping into it. And now, heaven is declaring that the time for waiting is over. The time for wondering is finished. Your next chapter is here, and it's time to turn the page. Let's talk about those burdens you've carried. The nights you lay awake wondering why life feels heavier for you than for others. The rejections that stung like arrows, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the prayers that seem to echo into silence. You've asked God, why me? Why the delays? Why the pain? Here's the truth that will set you free. Every closed door was God's protection. Every tear was watering the seeds of your destiny. Every moment of isolation was God refining you in His secret place, preparing you for a chapter so glorious it required this level of preparation. Think of Joseph, thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in a prison. For 13 years, doors slammed shut in his face. But Genesis 50:20 reveals the divine plot twist. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Every betrayal was building His testimony. Every injustice was increasing His anointing. Your story mirrors His. What looked like loss was God's strategy to position you for a breakthrough that will echo through generations. Now imagine standing before a majestic door, its surface shimmering with divine light, your name carved in gold. This isn't just any door, it's the doorway to your next chapter, crafted specifically for you by the hands of the Almighty. But here's the sobering truth. This door has a timer, its hinges are creaking, and heaven's clock is ticking. Isaiah 55:6 warns, "Seek the Lord while He may be found, call on Him while He is near." That while carries weight. Divine opportunities don't linger indefinitely. They open for a season, and when the season shifts, the door may close. Remember the 5 foolish virgins in Matthew 25. They were invited, just like the wise, but they weren't ready when the bridegroom arrived. The door shut, and no amount of pleading could reopen it. Don't let that be your story. This is your moment to step forward, to claim the chapter God has written for you. Why is this video different? Because it's not about motivation, it's about activation. This message unveils a unique truth. Your deepest fears are not barriers but keys to your greatest breakthroughs. Every time fear whispered, "You're not enough," it was lying to keep you from discovering your true power. Every time doubt said, "You've failed too many times," it was trying to stop you from stepping into your divine purpose. This video isn't here to comfort you in your waiting room. It's here to pull you out of it, to show you that the fears you've been wrestling with are the very tools God will use to unlock your destiny. Let's confront those fears together, because on the other side of them lies the life you were created to live. Some of you are thinking, "I've heard messages like this before. Why should I believe this time?" Because this isn't recycled rhetoric. This is a fresh word from heaven, tailored for you in this precise moment. You're not here by accident. You're here because God saw you before you were born, knew you'd be listening right now, and sent this message to awaken what's been dormant inside you. Psalm 139:16 declares, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Every struggle, every victory, every moment of your life has been leading to this divine appointment. If this message is stirring your soul, consider supporting it through Super Thanks below. Your generosity helps us reach more chosen ones who are standing at their own doorways, unsure if they should step through. But whether you give or simply receive, know that your presence here is no coincidence. It's ordained. Let's talk about fear, because it's the phantom guard standing between you and your next chapter. Fear doesn't announce itself with a roar. It creeps in like fog, whispering lies so subtle you mistake them for wisdom. You're too old to start over. You don't have enough resources. What if you fail again? But 2 Timothy 1:7 shatters those lies. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That fear you're feeling, it's not from God. It's a counterfeit, designed to keep you paralyzed at the threshold of your destiny. Think of Moses at the burning bush, trembling as he said, "Who am I to go to Pharaoh?" That wasn't humility. It was fear dressed in religious clothing. Yet God used him to deliver a nation. Your fears don't disqualify you. They're the raw material God will transform into courage. Consider Sarah, a single mother from Atlanta. At 42, she'd spent years dreaming of opening a bakery, but fear kept her stuck in a dead-end job. "What if I fail and lose everything?" she'd whispered to herself. Last year, a friend sent her a message much like this one. Her heart raced as she realized her fear wasn't protecting her. It was imprisoning her. She took a small step. She wrote down her goal to open her bakery within a year. That act of faith sparked a chain reaction. She enrolled in a local business course, connected with a mentor, and secured a small loan. Today, Sarah's bakery is thriving, employing 3 people and feeding her community. Her fear didn't vanish, but she acted anyway. That's the secret. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's obedience in its presence. Your next chapter isn't waiting for you to feel ready. It's waiting for you to move. Hebrews 11:1 defines faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith doesn't sit still analyzing risks. Faith walks, even when the path is unclear. Picture yourself standing at that radiant door, its golden light spilling over you. On the other side, lies your spiritual awakening, your personal transformation, the legacy God has called you to build. But you can't open it with hesitation. You open it with action. Right now, if you feel that divine spark igniting within you, type, "I am claiming my next chapter," in the comments below. Your declaration seals your commitment to heaven and inspires others to step forward. You're not alone in this. Thousands of chosen ones are reading your words, standing with you. Let's get practical, because faith without works is dead. Here are 3 specific steps you can take today to step into your next chapter. First, write down one goal you've been delaying. It could be starting a business, pursuing a degree, or even mending a relationship. Be specific. For example, I will call my estranged sister by Friday. Writing it down makes it real, giving your faith a tangible target. Second, take one small action toward that goal within the next 24 hours. If your goal is to start a project, sketch an outline. If it's reconciliation, draft a message. Small steps build momentum, proving to yourself and heaven that you're serious. Third, pray daily for boldness. Ask God to replace fear with faith, doubt with determination. These steps aren't magic, they're obedience in motion, aligning you with God's plan for your life. Now let's address the lies you've believed. The enemy has whispered that you're too broken, too late, too insignificant. But Romans 8:28 declares, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Your past doesn't define you, it refines you. Think of David, a shepherd boy who became a king. His years tending sheep weren't wasted. They taught him to trust God's strength over his own. Your struggles have done the same. They've carved out a capacity to carry the blessings God is releasing now. Every time you felt overlooked, God was positioning you. Every time you faced rejection, he was redirecting you. Your next chapter isn't a reward for perfection. It's a gift for perseverance. Imagine a battlefield, vast and shadowed, where spiritual forces clash over your destiny. The enemy has fought hard to keep you from this moment because he knows what's at stake. Your breakthrough isn't just for you. It's for your family, your community, the generations that will follow. When you step into your divine purpose, you become a beacon, lighting the way for others lost in darkness. Esther faced this truth when Mordecai told her, "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Esther 4:14. She risked everything to save her people, not because she felt ready, but because she trusted God's timing. You're standing in your own Esther moment. Will you step forward, or will you let fear write the end of your story? Some of you are wondering, what if I'm not strong enough? Let me remind you of Gideon, hiding in a winepress when God called him a mighty warrior. He didn't feel mighty, but God saw what he could become. God sees the same in you. Your weakness is where his strength shines brightest. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You don't need to be perfect, you need to be willing. If this message is stirring your heart, consider supporting it through super thanks below. Your gift helps us spread this divine wake-up call to others who need to hear that their next chapter is waiting. But whether you give or not, your presence here is a testament to your hunger for God's truth. Let's talk about hope, because it's the compass guiding you to this door. The world has taught you that hope is fragile, a fleeting wish that crumbles under pressure. But biblical hope is different. It's the unshakable certainty that God's promises will come to pass. When Abraham hoped for a son at 100 years old, it wasn't wishful thinking. It was trust in God's word. Romans 4:18 says, "Against all hope, Abraham in hope believed, and so became the father of many nations." Your hope isn't naive. It's powerful. It's the force that keeps you standing when everything else falls apart. Every disappointment you faced was God recalibrating your hope, pointing it toward this moment. Now, picture a river. Its waters rushing toward a vast ocean. That river is your life, and every twist, every obstacle, has been guiding you to this divine convergence. The ocean is your next chapter. Abundant, expansive, filled with possibilities you can't yet see. But you can't reach it by standing still. You must step into the current, trusting that God is guiding the flow. John 16:33 offers this assurance. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Your troubles haven't defeated you. They've prepared you. Every storm has strengthened your faith. Every trial has sharpened your resolve. You're ready for what's next, even if you don't feel it yet. Some of you are carrying burdens for others. Parents praying for wayward children, spouses believing for restored marriages, leaders hoping for revival. That burden isn't a curse, it's a calling. Your hope is spiritual warfare, pushing back the darkness until light breaks through. But hope demands action. The 10 lepers Jesus healed in Luke 17 weren't cleansed until they obeyed his command to show themselves to the priests. They moved in hope, and their miracle met them on the way. Your miracle is waiting for your movement. Those 3 steps, writing a goal, taking action, praying for boldness, are your map. Follow them and watch God move. If your spirit is leaping with recognition, type "I am claiming my next chapter" in the comments below. Your words are a declaration to heaven, a signal that you're ready to turn the page. You're joining a family of chosen ones, each stepping into their own divine moment. Together, we're building a legacy that will outlive us, a testimony that will inspire nations. Your comment isn't just for you. It's for the weary soul who reads it and finds the courage to keep going. You're not alone in this faith journey. We're walking with you, cheering you on. Let's confront the doubts that linger. Maybe you're thinking, I've messed up too many times. How can God still choose me? Look at Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times, yet Jesus restored him, saying, "Feed my sheep." John 21:17. Your failures don't disqualify you. They authenticate you. They prove you're human, reliant on God's grace. Or perhaps you're saying, I don't have the resources. Neither did the boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish, yet Jesus fed thousands through his small offering. John 6:9-13. Your little, placed in God's hands, becomes more than enough. Your next chapter doesn't depend on your... Imagine a tapestry woven with threads of every moment in your life. The dark threads of pain, the bright threads of joy, the frayed threads of failure. They're all there, forming a masterpiece only God could design. Your next chapter is the moment this tapestry is unveiled, revealing a story of redemption, purpose, and power. But you must choose to display it. Revelation 3:8 says, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. That door is open now, but it won't wait forever. Step through and let the world see what God has done. Let's talk about legacy, because your next chapter isn't just about you. It's about the lives you'll touch, the chains you'll break, the hope you'll ignite. Think of Harriet Tubman, who escaped slavery but returned to lead over 300 others to freedom. Her courage wasn't for her alone, it was for generations. Your obedience today could free someone tomorrow. That business you're called to start, it's not just profit, it's provision for others. That book you're meant to write, it's not just words, it's wisdom for the lost. Your next chapter is a bridge, connecting God's promises to a world in need. Now, hear this prophetic word. Your season of preparation is ending. and your season of manifestation is beginning. The delays weren't denials, they were divine timing. Every no was God saying, "Not that way." Every wait was him saying, "Not yet." But now he's saying, "It's time." Joel 2:25 promises, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." The years you thought were lost, God is redeeming them. The dreams you buried, they're rising. The doors that closed, they were leading you to this one. If your heart is burning with purpose, type, "I am claiming my next chapter" in the comments below. Your declaration is a battle cry, signaling to heaven and hell that you're stepping into your destiny. You're not just watching this video. You're joining a movement, a remnant of chosen ones, rising to change the world. Your words will spark faith in someone else, reminding them that their chapter is waiting too. Let's address the urgency one last time. This door, this moment, this chapter, it's not guaranteed to come again. Divine timing is precise, like a comet streaking across the sky. Miss it, and you may wait years for another alignment, but seize it, and you'll step into a life so abundant it will overflow into others. John 10:10 declares, "I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full." That full life is on the other side of this door, waiting for your faith to claim it. You're standing at the edge of your Red Sea, with the enemy behind and the promise ahead. Like Moses, you don't need to see the path. You need to lift your staff and move. Those 3 steps, writing your goal, acting within 24 hours, praying for boldness, are your staff. Raise them and watch God part the waters. Your next chapter is not a dream. It's a reality, written in heaven's scroll, waiting for your signature. Some of you are feeling the atmosphere shift, as if angels are leaning in, cheering you on. That's because they are. Hebrews 12:1 says, "We are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses." They're watching not to judge, but to celebrate. Your step forward is their victory too. If this message is fueling your faith, consider supporting it through super thanks below. Your gift helps us reach the weary, the doubting, the chosen ones who need this truth. But whether you give or not, your presence here is a miracle. A sign that God isn't finished with you. The scroll of your life is still being written, and the author of eternity is penning a chapter so radiant it will outshine every shadow of your past. Imagine a vast library in heaven, its shelves stretching beyond the stars, filled with books that hold the stories of every soul. Your book is there, its pages glowing with divine ink. And the chapter opening now is unlike any that came before. It's not a chapter of survival, but of thrive, not of questions, but of answers. Not of wandering, but of arriving. You've been through the wilderness, chosen one, but the promised land is in sight. The question isn't whether God will fulfill his word. The question is whether you'll dare to believe it's happening now. Let's talk about the weight you've carried, because it's time to lay it down. You've shouldered burdens that weren't yours to bear. Family expectations, past mistakes, the pain of others. You felt like Atlas, holding up a world that seemed determined to crush you. But Galatians 6:5 reminds us each one should carry their own load. God never asked you to carry the world. He asked you to carry his promise. Those burdens you've clung to, they're not your identity. They're not your calling. They're distractions, meant to keep you from stepping into the freedom of your next chapter. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind of heaven blowing through your hair. In your arms you hold a heavy sack, filled with regrets, fears, and old wounds. Now, imagine letting it go, watching it fall into the abyss below. That's what God is inviting you to do. Release the weight and step into the lightness of his purpose. Think of Ruth, a widow in a foreign land. carrying the grief of loss and the uncertainty of tomorrow. She could have stayed in Moab, clinging to the familiar pain of her past. But she chose to move, to follow Naomi into an unknown future. That choice led her to Boaz, to a legacy in the lineage of Christ. Ruth didn't know the end of her story, but she trusted the author. Your next chapter requires the same trust. You don't need to see the whole path, just the next step, those 3 steps we discussed: writing your goal, acting within 24 hours, praying for boldness. They're your Ruth moment. They're the bridge from where you are to where God is calling you. Don't overthink them. Don't wait for a neon sign from heaven. Move and watch God meet you in the motion. Let's confront the voices that try to pull you back. You know the ones. They whisper in the quiet moments, telling you you're not worthy, that your dreams are too big, that God's promises are for someone else. Those voices aren't new. They're as old as the serpent in Eden, questioning, did God really say? But John 10:27 counters them. My sheep listen to my voice, I know them, and they follow me. You know God's voice, chosen one. It's the one that called you when you were lost, comforted you when you were broken, stirred you when you were complacent. The enemy's lies are loud, but God's truth is louder. Tune out the noise and tune into the whisper of heaven. Your next chapter depends on whose voice you choose to follow. Consider James, a carpenter from a small town in Ohio. At 55, he felt stuck, working a job that drained his soul while dreaming of mentoring young men in his community. The voices in his head were relentless. You're too old. You don't have the credentials. Who would listen to you? But one Sunday, a sermon on stepping out in faith pierced his heart. He went home, wrote down his goal: start a mentorship program by spring. The next day he called his pastor, who connected him with a local youth center. Within months, James was leading a group of 10 boys, teaching them skills and sharing his faith. The voices didn't stop, but James stopped listening to them. His next chapter began when he chose God's voice over his doubts. What voices are you listening to? Whose truth will you claim? If your spirit is rising with resolve, type, I hear heaven's call in the comments below. Your words are a beacon, signaling to heaven that you're ready to follow his voice into your next chapter. They're also a lifeline, reaching someone else who's drowning in doubt, reminding them they're not alone. You're part of a remnant, a family of chosen ones bound by purpose, not proximity. Your comment strengthens that bond, building a community that stands together in faith. Let's talk about timing, because it's the heartbeat of this moment. You've felt it. The sense that something is shifting, that the air itself is charged with possibility. That's not coincidence, it's divine alignment. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Your season of waiting is giving way to a season of walking. The delays you've endured weren't random. They were God's way of syncing your life with his eternal clock. Think of Noah, building an ark for decades while the skies remained clear. The world mocked him, but when the rains came, his obedience saved his family. Your obedience now will save more than you know. Your legacy, your loved ones, the lives you're destined to touch. Some of you are wondering, what does my next chapter look like? It's not a one-size-fits-all blueprint. For some, it's launching a ministry that sparks revival. For others, it's healing a family rift that spanned generations. For another, it's stepping into a career that aligns with your God-given gifts. Whatever it looks like, it's marked by abundance, impact, and purpose. Jesus said in John 15:8, "This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples." Your next chapter is your fruit-bearing season, where the seeds of your faith blossom into a harvest that glorifies God. You don't need to know every detail. You need to trust the gardener who planted those seeds. Imagine a lighthouse, standing firm against crashing waves, its beam cutting through the darkest storm. That's you, chosen one. Your next chapter isn't just about receiving light, it's about becoming it. The world is desperate for your shine, for the hope you carry, for the truth you live. But lighthouses don't move. They stand, rooted in their purpose, unwavering in their call. Your 3 steps: writing your goal, acting within 24 hours, praying for boldness, are your foundation. They anchor you, keeping you steady as you shine. Don't despise their simplicity. Small acts of faith move mountains, as Matthew 17:20 promises. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, "Move from here to there," and it will move. If this message is fueling your faith, consider supporting it through Super Thanks below. Your generosity helps us reach those lost in the storm, guiding them to their own lighthouse moment. But whether you give or not, your presence here is a testament to your hunger for God's plan. You're not content with drifting, you're ready to shine. Let's address the cost, because stepping into your next chapter isn't free. It demands surrender, sacrifice, sometimes solitude. You may lose relationships that can't handle your growth. You may face criticism from those who prefer your old self. You may walk paths that feel lonely at first. But Philippians 3:8 says, "I consider everything a loss, because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord." The cost is real, but the reward is eternal. Think of Daniel thrown into a lion's den for his faithfulness. The cost: isolation and danger. The reward: God's protection and a testimony that still inspires us today. Your next chapter will cost you, but it will crown you with a legacy that endures. Some of you are feeling a tremor, a holy unrest. That's the Spirit moving, urging you to act. You're not imagining it. It's the same fire that fell on the disciples at Pentecost, the same wind that parted the Red Sea. Acts 2:17 quotes Joel. "In the last days, God says, I will pour out my Spirit on all people." This is your last days moment, where heaven's power meets your obedience. Those 3 steps are your altar, where you lay down fear and pick up faith. Don't delay. The enemy's greatest weapon is procrastination, convincing you there's always tomorrow. But Proverbs 27:1 warns, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring." Today is your day. Seize it. If your heart is pounding with purpose, type, "I'm stepping into my chapter," in the comments below. Your declaration is a war cry, shaking the gates of hell and rallying the angels. It's a spark that ignites faith in others, reminding them their chapter awaits. You're not just a viewer, you're a warrior, joined to a global army of chosen ones rising in this hour. Let's talk about vision, because your next chapter requires eyes that see beyond the natural. The world shows you lack, but God shows you abundance. The world points to your failures, but God points to your future. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "The vision awaits its appointed time, it hastens to the end, it will not lie." Your vision, your goal, your calling, your purpose has an appointed time, and it's now. Write it down, as Habakkuk 2:2 instructs. Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it. Your written goal isn't just a note, it's a contract with heaven, a commitment to run with the vision God has given you. Consider Maria, a nurse from Dallas who felt called to advocate for mental health in her community. At 38, she doubted her ability to make a difference. "I'm just a nurse," she thought. But a late-night prayer shifted her perspective. She wrote her vision, "Launch a support group by summer." The next day, she posted a flyer at her hospital. Within weeks, 10 people joined her group. sharing stories of healing. Maria's vision wasn't grand by the world's standards, but it was God's, and it's changing lives. Your vision doesn't need to be massive. It needs to be obedient. Those 3 steps are your starting line. Let's anchor this truth. Your next chapter is not optional. It's your assignment, written in heaven's registry before time began. Ephesians 2:10 declares, "We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Those works, your purpose, your impact, your legacy, are waiting. The world needs your voice, your gifts, your courage. You're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out, to be the salt and light Jesus called you to be in Matthew 5:13-14. Your next chapter is your stage, where God's glory shines through your story. Imagine a city at dusk, its skyline dotted with countless windows, each glowing with the light of a life being lived. Your window is among them, but it's not meant to flicker faintly. It's designed to blaze, a beacon that draws others out of darkness. Your next chapter is that blaze, chosen one. It's the moment your light becomes undeniable, not because you're perfect, but because you're surrendered. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over, placing your dreams, your fears, your future into the hands of the one who crafted the stars. Psalm 37:5 says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will do this." This is your next chapter, the unfolding of a destiny only God could design. You've committed your pain to him. Now, commit your purpose. Let's talk about the unseen battles you've fought, because they're the foundation of your victory. You've wrestled with moments no one else saw, nights of doubt, days of despair, silent struggles that left you breathless. Those weren't random. They were training grounds, spiritual boot camps where God was strengthening your soul for what's ahead. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world." Every time you chose to pray instead of panic, to trust instead of tremble, you won a battle in the spirit realm. Those victories weren't small. They were seismic, shifting the atmosphere over your life, clearing the path for this divine moment. You're not stepping into your next chapter unprepared. You're battle-tested, anointed, ready. Consider Elijah, alone on Mount Carmel, facing 450 prophets of Baal. The odds were laughable, the stakes impossible. Yet he prayed, and fire fell from heaven, proving God's power. 1 Kings 18:38. Elijah didn't win because he was fearless. He won because he was faithful, trusting God's voice over the crowds. Your battles have been your Mount Carmel, where you've learned to call on God when the world shouted against you. That faithfulness is why heaven is declaring your next chapter now. Your 3 steps: writing your goal, acting within 24 hours, praying for boldness, are your altar, like Elijah's, where you offer your faith and watch God respond. Don't underestimate them. They're the spark that invites heaven's fire. Some of you are feeling a quickening, a pulse of anticipation that's almost electric. That's not your imagination. It's the Spirit aligning you with eternity's rhythm. You're syncing with God's timing, stepping into the flow of his purpose. If this message is kindling that fire, consider supporting it through super thanks below. Your generosity helps us fan the flames of hope for others, reaching those who are one prayer away from their own breakthrough. But whether you give or not, your presence here is a divine appointment, a sign that you're ready to embrace your calling. Let's talk about identity, because the enemy has spent years trying to distort yours. He's labeled you with lies, forgotten, unworthy, hoping you'd wear them like a name tag. But Revelation 2:17 unveils a truth that shatters those lies. To the one who is victorious, I will give a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it. You have a new name, chosen one, etched in heaven's stone. It's not defined by your past or the world's opinions. It's defined by God's vision for you. Maybe the world called you broken, but God calls you restored. Maybe they labeled you ordinary, but He names you extraordinary. Your next chapter is where you live out that new name, where you walk in the identity heaven has always known. Think of Simon, a fisherman whose impulsiveness and failures could have defined him. But Jesus saw beyond the surface, renaming him Peter, the Rock. Matthew 16:18. That new name didn't erase Peter's flaws. It empowered his purpose. When Peter stepped into his calling, he preached at Pentecost, and thousands were saved. Acts 2:41. Your new name is your key to impact. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about becoming who you've always been in God's eye. Those 3 steps are your first strides as that new self. Each one a declaration that you're done with the old labels and ready for the new. If your soul is stirring with this truth, type, I embrace my new name, in the comments below. Your words are a prophetic act, claiming your heaven-given identity and inspiring others to shed their false labels. You're not alone. A global community of chosen ones is reading your declaration, standing with you, celebrating your courage. Your comment is a ripple, touching lives you'll never meet, building a wave of faith that changes the world. Let's talk about provision, because your next chapter isn't just spiritual, it's practical. You've worried about resources, wondering how God's promises could manifest when your reality feels so limited. But Philippians 4:19 assures us, my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus. God doesn't call you to a purpose without providing the means. Think of the widow in 2 Kings 4, facing debt and despair. All she had was a jar of oil. Elisha told her to gather empty jars, and as she poured, the oil multiplied, saving her family. Your jar of oil is your faith, your obedience, your willingness to act. Those 3 steps are your empty jars, ready for God to fill with supernatural provision. Trust Him and watch the overflow. Consider Lisa, a teacher from Chicago who dreamed of writing a children's book about faith. At 45, she felt trapped by bills and time constraints. How can I afford to chase a dream, she wondered, but a late-night journal entry changed everything. She wrote her goal, finish my book by Christmas. The next day, she carved out 30 minutes to draft a chapter. She prayed for boldness, and soon, a colleague introduced her to a local publisher. Today, Lisa's book is in libraries, touching young hearts. Her provision didn't come first. Her obedience did. Your next chapter works the same way. Step out, and God will supply what you need. Let's talk about influence, because your next chapter isn't private, it's public. God didn't choose you to hide your light under a basket. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Your influence isn't about fame or followers. It's about impact, about lives changed because you dared to live your calling. Think of Nehemiah, rebuilding Jerusalem's walls despite opposition. His influence wasn't in speeches, but in action, rallying a broken people to restore their city. Nehemiah 4:6. Your next chapter is your wall-building moment, where your obedience inspires others to rise. Those 3 steps are your tools. Use them and watch God multiply your impact. Imagine a forest, quiet at dawn, until one bird begins to sing. Its song awakens another, then another, until the air is alive with melody. You're that first bird, chosen one, Your next chapter is your song, the one that wakes others to their purpose. But you must sing, even if your voice trembles, even if the forest feels vast. Your influence starts small, writing that goal, taking that action, praying for boldness. But it grows, touching lives you can't yet see. Don't shrink from your role. Embrace it, and let your light spark a revival. If your heart is burning with this vision, type "My light will shine" in the comments below. Your declaration is a flare in the darkness, signaling to heaven that you're ready to influence your world. It's also a beacon for others, reminding them their light matters too. You're part of a radiant community, chosen ones united by a shared call to shine. Let's talk about resilience, because your next chapter will test it. The enemy won't stop fighting just because you've stepped forward. He'll throw distractions, doubts, even delays. But Romans 8:37 declares, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." Your resilience isn't human grit, it's divine grace. Think of Paul, shipwrecked, beaten, imprisoned, yet writing, "I can do all this through him who gives me strength." Philippians 4:30. His resilience came from Christ, and so does yours. Those 3 steps are your training, building the spiritual muscle to stand firm. Keep moving, and God will keep empowering. Consider Michael, a veteran from Seattle who battled PTSD and addiction. At 50, he felt his life was over. But a counselor's words, "You're still here for a reason," sparked hope. He wrote his goal: get sober and help others by next year. He joined a recovery group the next day, praying daily for strength. Today, Michael mentors other veterans, his resilience a testimony of God's redemption. Your next chapter may face storms, but your resilience, rooted in faith, will carry you through. Some of you are feeling a surge, a holy determination rising within. That's the Spirit equipping you for battle. If this message is fortifying your faith, consider supporting it through super thanks below. Your seed helps us strengthen others, showing them they're conquerors too. But whether you give or not, your presence here is a victory, a sign that you're ready to stand. Your next chapter isn't a fragile dream that crumbles under pressure. It's a divine blueprint, built to withstand every storm because it's anchored in the unshakable will of God. Picture a towering oak, its roots deep in the earth, unmoved by howling winds. That's you, chosen one. Your roots are your faith, your obedience, your trust in God's promises. The winds of opposition may roar, but they cannot uproot what God has planted. Psalm 1:3 says, "That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season." Your season is now, and your fruit, your impact, your legacy, your breakthrough is ready to bloom. Those 3 steps, writing your goal, acting within 24 hours, praying for boldness, are your streams, nourishing your roots as you grow into God's vision. Let's talk about eternity, because your next chapter isn't just about this life. It's about the ripples you'll send through forever. Every choice you make now echoes in the halls of heaven, shaping not just your story, but the stories of those who'll come after you. Hebrews 11:4 speaks of Abel, whose faith speaks even though he is dead. Your faith will speak too, through the lives you touch, the chains you break, the hope you sow. Imagine standing before God one day, seeing the faces of those your obedience saved, children who found faith because of your testimony, families restored because of your courage, communities transformed because you dared to step into your calling. That's the weight and wonder of your next chapter. It's not temporary, it's eternal. Consider Anna, a 60-year-old retiree from Miami who felt her purpose had faded. She'd raised her kids, worked her career, and wondered what was left. But a dream stirred her, teaching literacy to immigrants. Fear said, "You're too old." Doubt said, you're not trained. But Anna wrote her goal: start a reading class by fall. She contacted a local church the next day, offering her time. Her daily prayers for boldness opened doors. A grant funded her program, and volunteers joined her. Now Anna's class helps dozens read, empowering them with jobs and dignity. Her next chapter isn't just hers, it's theirs, a legacy that will outlive her. Your chapter holds the same power. Those 3 steps are your pen, writing a story that eternity will read. If your spirit is soaring with this truth, type "My chapter echoes in eternity" in the comments below. Your words are a vow, a signal to heaven that you're ready to live for more than the moment. They're also a spark, igniting faith in someone else who's questioning their worth. You're part of a global tapestry, chosen ones woven together by God's purpose. Your comment strengthens that weave, creating a community that shines for His glory. Now let's conclude this divine appointment, because heaven has spoken, and your response will shape everything. You've stood at the threshold of your next chapter, seen the door glowing with your name, felt the urgency of God's call. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. Your life is splitting into before and the after is radiant with possibility. But it requires your yes. Revelation 3:20 says, "Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in." Jesus is knocking.